net migration figures between mid-22 and mid-32, 6.79 people will be born, million people, and 6.81 million people will die. And that's the problem. We're not having enough babies.
The
so why
birth
have we
rate
stopped?
is the problem,
That is the problem. So why have we stopped having babies?
Why have we stopped having babies?
Why have you stopped having babies?
I never even started.
I know. You're the problem.
No, I'm no idiot.
You're the
Listen, stick with Petrie. She'll take you through to 1 a.m. Sounds like a good show. Give her a call on 0344 499 1000. You have been an amazing audience. It's been a great show tonight. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Same time, same place, right here on Talk at 7 p.m. You better be there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and as ever at midnight it is your chance to talk back. It's a full hour of phone-in, and like I keep saying, just to remind you, this is the only show that does that, so please use it. No guests, nothing, just you and me. So what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be looking at these net migration figures and trying to figure out why it is that we have stopped having babies. The death rate outstrips the birth rate at the moment, and that's why we need immigration. And a lot of you go, well, we don't, we're full, we don't need immigration. But you've got to look at the demographics of the population. The population is getting older. So even though they keep pushing the retirement age further and further, there are fewer older people working. There may be ill health. There may be reasons why they can't work into their late 60s and 70s is what they want us to do. So there's very good reason why the demographics are not quite right. They don't quite fit with what the country needs. And that's why they keep bringing in people. And when you say, yeah, but it means the population goes up, it does, because those pesky old people refuse to die. And what we need, I'm obviously tongue in cheek, I'm almost there myself, but what we need, therefore, is a larger population of younger people to take care of those older people who are still living, right? So that's the issue, and that's why the population keeps rising. Because a lot of people say, well, just stop it, and we'll just make do as we are. But then we don't have the required number of people to take care or to even earn tax to support those older people. We need people of working age, and that is why immigration into this country is at the levels that we're seeing. And it will average 340,000 people coming into the country a year. And that's what it needs to do to keep growth, supporting those older people. We've got an ageing population, we know that, and women are not having babies. What needs to happen is that every fertile woman in this country needs to have 2.1 children in order to replenish the stock. And we're not. At the moment, it's 1.49 per woman, which falls woefully below. Now, we're not the only country in this situation. America are taking steps, right? They're removing the possibility for any sort of female sexual health and abortion, legalised abortion, and they're ending all sorts of things that women can do to control what babies that they have. So other countries are doing something about it, not in favour of women's rights, but they are doing something about it. So what do we need to do in this country in order to encourage women to have those 2.1 children? I had one child, and that for me was perfectly reasonable and enough. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't have afforded to have more than one. So what is the reason that women are not having children? And women are putting off having children, then fertility rates drop. So it is an issue. It's a big problem, not just for this country, but for many countries in the Western world that are seeing a reduction in fertility. So what do we do to encourage women? Why are we not having enough babies? And is it sustainable, really, well, there's nothing else we can do, is there? What can we do? We need those people to come in because they're the right age and demographic where we've got the wrong demographic. So give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Why did you choose to limit your family? Why did you choose to only have 2 children or 1 child? Have you decided not to have children? There's going to be a major problem because my son's age group, and I know a lot of those young people, because of my son, they're all saying they don't want to have children at all, because they can see the way the world's going. So what is the solution? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. If you are one of those younger people, I'd love to hear from you on that. And you can text me as well, put the word talk and then your message to 87222. Right, before that, between 11 and 12, we have Kevin Schofield. Really looking forward to seeing him. I haven't seen him it feels like for ages. But anyway, he's going to be in to go through Wednesday's newspapers. Then we have Ria Freeman, author and PR social media expert. She's going to be looking at the good and the bad PR that's been happening. And our very own Johnny Hearn, filmmaker, broadcaster and talk film reporter. He will also be here to talk us through the Oscar noms and also a couple of movies that he has seen. So all of that is coming up. But the big question, really, I had so many questions about this story when it broke, when it came up on the front pages for today's papers, but I did it obviously yesterday, is the impact of DeepSeek. Now, for those of you who've had your head in a bucket all day, this is a new AI app. It is the most downloaded app across the US and America since the weekend. And it has quite literally turned the tech world upside down, sending shockwaves through Wall Street and triggering a massive sell-off of major tech stocks. And it could end up costing Silicon Valley and others $1 trillion. This is a small firm, employs around 140, 150 people in China, and they claim to have developed this AI, which is by all accounts extremely good. Although I tried it, I thought it was bad, but no, I know. But it cost them £4.6 million. Whereas other AI firms are saying it costs hundreds of millions to develop and teach AI. So what have they done? Why is this such a big shock? And what does this mean? How does it work? And what does the future of these tech companies look like now? Well, Dr. Celia Recap joins me now, Cecilia Recap, a head of research and an associate professor in economics at the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose at the University College London. Cecilia, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining me. There's so many questions for me on this because I don't really get why how this is so different from everything else and why it has created such a shock in the financial markets for the tech stocks.
So, hi, good evening, everyone. I would say that there is an economic impact and there is also a geopolitical impact. The geopolitical impact is very easy to explain. This company is a Chinese company. And of course, this generates a lot of concern around the world. In particular, it generates concern for the United States because it's the clear forerunner in the AI race. But the economic impact goes to this, to impart the cost, what you were saying about how cheap it was apparently to train the model. And I say apparently because actually this $5.6 million was what they spent in the last round of training. When an AI model is developed, it requires a lot of rounds of training. And I don't want to get in very technical here, but just to say that this is not the only money that was spent developing DeepSeek models. This was the last money that they spent. Still, there is a space to believe that it's a way to develop frontier LLMs cheaper. And it's cheaper because they are using mostly one type of training, which is reinforcement learning. And if you only use reinforcement learning, which basically is sending hundreds of thousands of prompts to the model and asking the model to reply, and then you just say to the model, good answer, bad answer. So it starts learning by doing, in a way, by answering more and more questions. Doing only this instead of feeding the model data with labels explaining this is a dog, this is a cat, uses less compute power. It also uses less processing power because these models are using something that is not new, but it was not really showcased in the media, which is the capacity to use existing models to build on the learnings of existing models to build new models. So from a technology standpoint, this is not a breakthrough, to be honest. And I've been talking to people in the industry, and it's not really a breakthrough to the extent that the technologies are still the same. What might be a breakthrough is that achieving these performing algorithms without needing all the compute that was assumed to be needed before. And this is why, in particular, NVIDIA's stocks plummeted, because NVIDIA is the company that sells the semiconductors. In the AI industry, we have different types of companies. Basically, three types of companies are making most of the profits. One is the companies like, in particular, NVIDIA, designing the semiconductors and also producing them, which are the processing power of the models. The other type of company are the companies like DeepSeek, but also from the US, the OpenAI, the Mistral from France, the companies that are developing models. Their business is just to develop and sell models. And then we have companies that do everything, offer everything as a service on their clouds. They are developing models, but their business is ultimately to have everyone embracing AI and using AI, which is a way to move everyone to their clouds and is a way to have more consumption of every type of digital service. these are Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And for these companies, the DeepSeek ultimately is reinforcing the idea that much remains to be seen from the AI age, and therefore that they have a lot of business to make. And this is important to say because DeepSeek is a threat for a company like OpenAI, but not really for a Microsoft or a Google. It's not changing the ultimate status quo of an industry that is controlled by a few companies, mostly from the US. Secondarily, Chinese big tech companies also play this centralizing panopticon and bottleneck role. And in the end, if the tide changes and there is more space for Chinese companies to emerge, we should, instead of thinking whether it will be US or Chinese, the question that we need to ask ourselves is what is the space for a truly public-led initiative, an initiative that puts people and planetary needs first instead of business, and that uses AI to empower people instead of replacing people.
It seemed to come as a real shock, though. I just wonder how it's possible in this day and age for something that seems to have shaken the world of AI so dramatically, whether it deserved it or not, could just sneak up on them. It just seemed to come from nowhere. And some people are referring to it as the Sputnik moment, that this is the moment that we realized we were behind the curve, or the Americans were not as far in advance as they thought they were, and they've got to pull their socks up.
Well, to some extent, if you think about last week and this announcement of this different SoftBank with OpenAI and Oracle working together, it was like 500 billion. Nvidia's stocks plummeted 600 billion in one day, and 500 billion is what they were saying that was going to be invested basically in processing power. So it's changing in a way. What it's doing is showcasing that this alternative way of doing the models, which again I insist already existed. Actually, Gemma, the open models from Google, already do the same. This alternative way of developing the models can be cheaper. Not as cheap as they are saying, but cheaper, can consume less computing power, and therefore it may change in a way the structure of who's leading within the AI startups. So it is, as I was saying, problematic for OpenAI, and it's definitely problematic for a company like Nvidia, whose business is to sell more and more AI semiconductors.
Yeah, and then you've got the data banks that they don't need to be as big. They don't need as much power. So you've got the nuclear facilities that they were going to bring back online in order to fuel the power that's needed for those data banks. And everybody's now having to go, whoa, hang on a minute. We were going on this road, and actually we need to stop now and think which direction we go. So that seems to me to be what's causing the shock and awe, if you like, about this.
Well, at the market level, the stocks react very fast. They overreact all the time. We've seen the overreaction also in terms of the skyrocketing of the stocks of these companies, even before it was clear that all this investment was resulting in sufficient money to pay back the investment. So let's say that now we are looking at the other side of this story, but I think that we need to look beyond the business and again, look at what this means for society. And it can mean that there is a possibility to develop LLMs that consume less water, that consume less energy, as you were saying, and also these models are models that are, again, I insist, they are built on top of existing models, which means that it's easier to build them. And if it's easier, this means that the public sector can build its own models and can have digital sovereignty with models that can be offered for people, the planet more in general. And I say planet because I think that the planetary boundary is something that the big tech companies were not considering, not caring about really. And it is problematic. It's not just a matter of let's go for the latest technology and push for more and more and more parameters. What are we going to do with all this AI? Do we need it in the first place? So I think that these questions, what this DeepSeek story offers us is an opportunity to ask ourselves these questions, to say, hey, what did we want the AI for? And can we do a different AI, regardless of how the companies are reconsidering their investments? And let me say, I mean, I'm the stocks of these companies, of Amazon, Microsoft, Google in particular, perhaps Nvidia will take longer, they will go up again. Because again, geopolitics, and this is an important matter. Let's remember Huawei. Huawei leapfrogged in 5G. Is Huawei the company offering 5G technology to all the countries in the world? No. And they had the frontier in terms of the technology. So geopolitics will play a crucial role in weaponizing the chances of a Chinese company to take over the market from US companies. So the stocks will recover, but we still have this opportunity to think differently about AI. What can really be a useful purpose for AI, and not simply just a race that it's not favoring people, it's not favoring labor, it's not taking into account social needs, and it's not taking into account the planetary boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying, because I agree with you, but I'm not sure that the billionaires and the businessmen really care. I don't think they care about whether it's an AI for good or an AI for bad. They just want to make money out of it. So surely if they can suppress China, it's got nothing, it will have nothing to do with any altruistic reason, but rather that they want to make money just building stuff because that's what they can do. How does this even begin to change that attitude, which we know is all powerful?
I think that this needs to change from the public sector. And together with different colleagues, we actually wrote a report that is called Reclaiming Digital Sovereignty, where we offer an alternative and we explain in detail what are the things that governments could do to expand digital sovereignty, to be at the frontier of the technologies that are worth it for society, and how to do it. And we've been discussing this report with MEPs, so European parliamentarians from the Social and Democrat group, from the left group. We've also been discussing this with governments from Latin America. There is a space, there is will. I think that at the European level, and there is a space also in Latin America to do it. Unfortunately, this is not the case of the UK. Starmer has decided that he's going to embrace the power of big tech. He is even downgrading this institution that was so important, which is the CMA, that is so important also as a lighthouse for the other CMAs in the world. And all this just because he's blinded by the idea that innovation will solve all the problems of the UK. And actually what we are getting with this type of innovation is more inequality and a worse life for most of the people. So yeah, maybe we can download an app and play with the AI, but at the same time, we will have most of the people will have worse jobs.
Yeah.
Most of the people will not make ends meet. So really, I think that we have an opportunity. I see it complicated for the UK to embrace this opportunity of a public-led alternative, but other parts of the world are discussing it and are thinking about it as a possibility.
Yeah, money talks. I'm afraid that's always been the case. Absolutely fascinating talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me. Dr. Cecilia Recap there, Head of Research and Associate Professor in Economics at the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose at the University College London. I have to say I tried DeepSeek. And so the only way I could actually test it was to put my own name in, and it absolutely everything was wrong. So I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan. It says I work somewhere else. I won't name, and I have been working there for ages. It's all rubbish. So I'm not a fan. I don't think it's as intelligent as people think it is. I'm just going from that, really. Got to take a quick break, but I will be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a good evening to you. This is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up at midnight, as ever, is your chance to talk back. And we're going to be talking about this. I mean, it is quite a scary figure of net migration. Could push the UK population to 72.5 million. Now that's a projected population growth of 7.3% between 2022 and 2032, compared with an increase of 6.1% over the previous 10 years. So it's a greater percentage, but it kind of makes sense. We're talking about legal migration here. It makes sense because every year, of course, our ageing population gets bigger. Older people are living for longer. Pesky, annoying people who paid all that money into tax and now want a pension. Anyway, and they're living longer and they're living healthier. And you know, the elephant in the room is that they need to die off. I mean, if you read Freakonomics, that's exactly what that book will tell you. It's a brilliant book, by the way. So they're not, and I don't plan to either, and I'm sure you don't plan to either. But what that means is that the numbers of the country, if we didn't have any immigration, then their numbers would start to deplete, because women are having fewer babies at one end of the scale, and older people aren't dying fast enough, and then they die off slowly, and then there's more old people that replace them, and the bit in the middle is not big enough to fund everything else. The taxpayers, you know, I mean, pensioners will say, well, I pay tax, but yeah, but not as much as people who are working, and it's not as much as you did when you were working, right? So it becomes a real problem. The working age population is why we need to replenish it with people from outside, right? Makes sense. Because children can't work, and there's not enough of them anyway, even if we could send them up a chimney. I don't have a problem with that. We can send them up a chimney. But we have got an ageing population, so that's why the population keeps going up. So what do we do about that? And there is decreasing fertility in the Western world, and it's not just this country that has the problem. America has the problem. A lot of the Western world has the same issues. The reason I say Western world is we don't tend to get figures from other countries that don't want us to know. But the point is that fertility is falling. Women are waiting until they're a bit older to have children. They may then have fertility issues with that age issue, or they're just choosing not to have children. And as I said earlier, you talk to somebody in their mid-20s, early 30s, and they're telling you they don't want kids at all. They don't want to have children in a world like we've got today. So, because they're not stupid, right? They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing that they can't even afford to get on the housing ladder. They don't like the way politics is going. They don't like the way the world feels or looks at the moment. So they're going to have fewer and fewer babies. This is a problem that is going to get worse. And that means that we need to bring people in to do the jobs that we haven't got the people to do. This isn't about unemployment. It's not about work-shy people not getting a job. This is much, much bigger than that. And because we're not replenishing, in fact, the numbers are between mid-2022 and mid-32, 6.79 million people will be born in this country, and 6.81 million will die. So you can see the problem. Women in the 70s, that was a sort of, you know, the baby boom, the baby bust, you know, all of that. They have to have at least 2.1 children. Each fertile woman needs to replenish the stock, if you like, by having 2.1 babies. At the moment, that number is down to 1.49. And that's all women. So anybody who's sitting there thinking, oh yeah, well I know people next door, they got 5 kids, whatever. You know, that's all women in this country who are either born here or naturalised here or are British citizens now. So there isn't one demographic having more babies. Well, there probably is, frankly. Catholics, for example, they're probably having more babies. But we need more babies. So why is it that so many people are choosing to be child-free? Not childless, but child-free. And what do we need to do in order to encourage or support people having more babies? 0344 499 1000. Do give me a call. Particularly want to hear from you if you are a younger person who's decided you will not have children. Be absolutely fascinated why you don't want them. I mean, I could write a list in the break. But tell me what your thinking is, because I think this is really, really interesting. And there are more and more women saying, nah, not doing it. You can text as well, put the word talk and your message to 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, and a good evening to you. Right, we are now going to be talking PR wins and PR disasters. And Ria Freeman joins me now, author and PR and social media expert. Hello there, Ria. How are you doing? Oh, we've got no sound. Hang on a sec. Have we got you now?
Oh,
yeah, no, got you. Right, let's have a look. Let's start with the bad. And have a look at Abramovich. Does he really care that he's had a bad week, PR-wise? The billionaire oligarch who's been avoided.
I can't imagine from a PR point of view he's that bothered,
No.
Let's be honest. I mean, from a tax point of view and the possible repercussions of that, possibly more so. But I think from the PR point of view, it's really bad, particularly as we're cruising towards the self-assessment tax deadline. I think tax and how much we have to pay is very much front of mind for many of us. And seeing people who have potentially dodged significant bills never sits particularly well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Anybody who dodges, particularly a billionaire, I mean, how dare they? Particularly an oligarch whose money wasn't even his in the first place and it was given to him by Putin. But anyway, let's not go down that road. Yeah, I mean, PR-wise, he's pretty much somebody that I don't think could go any lower, that I would say. But he has been hiring his super yacht, is this right? Through a chartered company. And that means that he can use it as a tax dodge.
Yeah, I was reading about it. It sounds very clever and very complicated in equal measure. And I mean, maybe he's got some bad advice. I don't know the ins and outs of it, obviously, but you know, the optics of it are awful. And that's like what we're really kind of concerned with from a PR point of view. But when we think about it from a PR point of view, you have to then think, well, is this going to impact him in a way that's going to be detrimental to his career, detrimental to what he wants to do? Probably not from a PR point of view, because I imagine he'll just carry on regardless anyway.
Yeah, of course he will. But he says that people like the Italian lawyers are saying there has been tax evasion. Does it look like, Abramovich's lawyers are going, they've always obtained independent expert tax and legal advice and acted in accordance with it. But some of these loopholes can end up being a noose, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, even when people like me and normal people who are self-employed fill in the tax, your self-assessment tax form, it does say, have you done anything bad? Towards the end of it.
I'd be too scared. I'm too scared to say anything bad that might be wrong. I couldn't do it.
No, I agree with you. I'm so diligent with it because it really matters to me. But then I think probably the more money you've got, the different people that you hire, because you've got so much more to work with potentially.
Well, we've seen it before, haven't we, with celebrities who've bought into clever schemes and it has smacked them in the face, and that's been really disastrous PR for them. And like I said, I don't think Abramovich will actually, I mean, a man like that, what would he care? But anyway, Wyn Evans, oh my goodness. Now, this is the opera singer who does a certain advert about comparisons, and he... I found out yesterday what he actually said about that woman. Absolutely disgraceful. I don't know if it's out in the public, I can't say it, but it is absolutely beyond the pale. That was not a mistake. That was not just a slip of the tongue. That was a misogynistic and really quite disgusting comment, deliberately made, by the way. But anyway, has he now had to step down?
Well, I think now he's said that he's going to step down from the Strictly tour and also from his radio show, because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he actually made this comment as well in front of a group of the press.
Yes.
And obviously it was picked up on. So something that, maybe it could have been said, oh, well, he didn't mean it like that, this or something like that. The fact that there was a lot of press there watching it as it happened, it couldn't be a lot worse from that PR point of view.
No, there were witnesses to this and people recording it and writing it down, and it's just so blooming stupid to say something like that. I mean, not only misogynistic, but it's dumb, right?
Completely. And he was also in the press not that long ago because he put his hand on his partner's waist, and that was blown up hugely, and obviously Strictly really under the spotlight for the various interactions that their dancers and their celebrities have, and how that hasn't worked out particularly well for them over the last few months. So I think it really brings it all into the spotlight. Of course, the spotlight's back on Strictly, but really onto Wyn as well. And I think he's done the right thing stepping away, because he's very much the centre of it now. And really, whatever he says is not going to fix it, because there is, I mean, I've seen a video of it being said. It's been reported really far and wide. I think the best thing to do is take that step back. That's what I'd be advising. And, regroup and don't add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, just shut up. Don't do a Greg Wallace. Don't make this worse.
Silence is golden.
Silence is golden, although I think to step over this comment, it's going to be very difficult for him.
I would agree with that.
I think really do. It was a deliberately nasty thing to say. It was unacceptable. And people go, "Oh, this day and age, you don't understand." But it was never acceptable to say something like that. It's never been acceptable. Okay, men may have got away with it in the past, but it was never acceptable. And particularly, no, not that comment. I was shocked, actually, when I realised what the comment was. The good PR wins, though. DeepSeek, although I've given them a really bad review. A tiny company, though, but maximum impact. The most downloaded app in America and the UK over a matter of days.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have really made other players in the industry sit up and take notice in a very short amount of time. And I think AI is it's talked about so much, it's in the press so much, it's on everyone's mind so much for so many different areas of our lives, that when a new player comes from seemingly nowhere, being able to do something at a much, much lower cost that's rivaling some really, quite developed pieces of software that are available to us and we're all aware of. And the press coverage that's got, that's a big PR win for anybody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it really is, although what it told me when I asked it was utter rubbish. But so I don't know how good it is. I only asked it a couple of questions, but the answers to them were wrong. So I don't know what that means. But anyway, they won't care because everybody's downloaded it. I've now deleted it. But there you go.
Fair enough.
I did download it first. So that'll count for them. Melania Trump, a new official portrait. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This is an astonishingly beautiful woman. She's had a new portrait taken. I couldn't help but notice by an immigrant. And of course, she's an immigrant too, but I don't suppose that counts. But this is in the Oval Office, I understand, with what's the needle in the background.
What a picture, though. I mean, talk about powerful, really here to do business. I love it. And I think because there's been so much talk about her being very much Trump's shadow and this, and then we see this picture and we think, no, she means business. I love it, I have to say.
I do too. It is astonishing. She is absolutely world-class beauty. And it's interesting, the Vogue now are considering putting her on the front page, and I wonder if this will persuade them, because they weren't going to do it. Anna Wintour didn't want to do it, I think, for political reasons. But Melania Trump does mean, but she's got a book to sell, hasn't she? She's becoming a businesswoman in her own right, and I think she's trying to get out of the shadow of Trump, which is a very large orange shadow. But I think she's trying to step away from that.
Yeah, and good for her. I mean, good for her. She looks incredible. We saw bits of her personality coming out as well through the inauguration, through some of the videos. And I really like to see that as well.
Yeah, and I like that hat. I thought that hat was great. Right, the Milky Way crispy rolls. I have to be completely honest, I've never heard of them. Never heard of them, never eaten one.
Oh, Petrie, I mean, now's your time to learn more. Very exciting.
Are they? I mean, I remember the original Milky Way bar, but I don't remember I've never tried one.
Oh, they're good.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, I do like most chocolates, but they're good ones. But I think it's really cool, though, that basically people have loved them so much and kept on about them so much that the company said, yeah, we made a mistake, we're going to bring them back. And the press coverage they've got from doing that, I mean, people are losing their minds over these little crispy rolls. I mean, I love them, but I'm not as excited as a lot of people on social media.
Do you know, I remember when Heinz dropped salad cream, which is a big thing in the 70s and 80s. It really was. I was pretty much brought up on salad cream sandwiches, loved them, and I still love them. And they dropped salad cream, and I think there was a massive pushback on that as well. And Heinz said, okay, well, look, if we bring it back, you're going to have to buy it. You know, we will bring it back. So sometimes the customer is king. And even though I've never eaten one of these and probably never will, it is good that people are getting what they did. The same with Caramac. As well, that I know. I love a Caramac. Absolutely nothing to do with chocolate, but it's just sugar. But they are delicious. And I think Caramac was taken off the shelves for a while, and then that was brought back for popular demand as well. They just want to make money at the end of the day. So if you're going to buy it, they'll make it.
Absolutely. I love as well, like the world that we live in, there's so much stuff going on, which is not good. But chocolate bars, people get wild about that.
Yeah. If I did a phone in about what's your
Love that.
favourite chocolate or biscuit, I wouldn't be able to. We'd have to bat the calls away. I mean, people are obsessed. I think particularly in this country. But yeah. Well, maybe I'll try one. And I'll take your word for it that they're delicious. But in the meantime, I'm now thinking of Caramac bars.
And, yeah, I could go with one of those.
Yeah, and salad cream sandwiches, and I've got no bread, so. That's no good. Anyway, Ria, thank you very much indeed. Ria Freeman there, author and a PR and social media expert. So there you go. Some good news, if you like. Milky Way crispy rolls. There you go. You hear it here first. Now, to come, we've got Johnny Hearn in the studio talking movies, so don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good evening to you. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up at the top of the hour, Kevin Schofield is here to go through the newspapers for tomorrow. So that's coming up. Really pleased about that. Not so pleased, but no, I am. In the studio with me now, Johnny Hearn, filmmaker, broadcaster and talk film reporter. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Now, some films we need to look at.
Yes.
Right, so let's start with Flight Risk. Love a Mark Wahlberg film, because you know what you're going to get.
Yes, you kind of know what you're going to get with this, although in this instance he actually plays the bad guy. So he's not the Boston.
He's not the hero.
He's not the hero Boston detective, which he tends to play in most other. No, he's not. He's the bad guy, and also who's from sort of the deep south as well. So he's got this sort of kind of redneck accent as well. He's playing completely against type, which is great. It's really nice to see that he's not playing the hero character. So the premise of the film is a former accountant for a mafia boss, a guy, is gone on the run and is hiding out in Alaska and gets found by the FBI. And the FBI agent, played by Michelle Dockery, is charged with transporting him from this little town in Alaska to Anchorage so that he can then be sent to mainland America to go on trial. And he wants to go to witness protection, etc., etc. So they charter this tiny little aircraft, which is piloted by Mark Wahlberg, to fly them the several hundred miles across the frozen...
So he's not the baddie. that they're capturing?
No.
He's another baddie
He's the
flying
pilot.
them?
Yeah, he's the pilot,
All right,
yeah.
okay.
And so he has to fly them across the mountains to Anchorage. But it turns out, of course, and it's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, that he's not the actual pilot. He is actually somebody working for this mafia boss who has been charged with killing both of them. But he's also a little bit sadistic, so he, rather than just kill them, he's planning to sort of fly them to somewhere remotely and then do all sorts of despicable things with them.
Nice man.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's fairly that type of.
It's that kind of action thriller kind of movie.
Okay, well, it's my favourite. So let's have a listen or a look to the trailer for Flight Risk. It's at 15 and it's 1:30 and in cinemas now.
Moretti is very disappointed in you, Winston, and he wants you dead.
Mayday, mayday. We've been compromised. The pilot's a hitman.
I'm gonna tear you apart. Tiny little pieces. They're gonna need the entire forensics team to identify you.
Tell me how to fly this thing, or we will die out here.
Clearly, you've mistaken me for somebody who actually gives a...
You hear that? Looks military.
You think it's there to help? He's there to shoot you down. Y'all need a pilot?
He's really uglified himself, hasn't he?
By choice, actually. It was his choice that the character is bold, and he shaved his head for it rather than have prosthetic makeup. So that.
His girlfriend or wife must have been thrilled with that.
I suppose she didn't mind the paycheck.
Yeah,
that comes with it.
I went to, as you know, used to go out with an actor, and one time he was playing a cat. It wasn't in Cats. It was a cat called Stigford.
Pantomime.
And he had all his hair shaved like that, and shaved down the middle, and the two bits of hair here were to mimic the
ears.
The ears. I had to go out with him like that. Dreadful. Never do it again. Anyway, so you like this film?
I did. I really did. Mark Wahlberg is brilliant.
Oh, he looks fantastic.
Yeah,
if you can make yourself ugly like that.
Yeah, and he's funny. But he's dangerous as well. You know, he's scary. It's the fact that the whole film takes place inside this aircraft, pretty much. Is very, very clever. It's not a totally original idea. There was a film a couple of years ago called Horizon Line, which is a very similar idea. Only it was a couple on their way to a wedding in a remote island in the Pacific, and their pilot has a heart attack, and then they're flying in this plane just across the ocean. They have no idea where they're going. They can't see any land, and they can't fly the plane.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar kind of idea. It's directed by Mel Gibson, interestingly, who seems to make one movie about every 7 or 8 years, and so he's come around to this one. It's a good action kind of thriller movie, a couple of little twists and things. Some things are pretty obvious, but there's some nice twists in it.
I like that. This is my genre.
I thought, for what it is, I thought it's a really interesting, really good movie worth watching.
Okay, I shall definitely. I mean, I know it's right in my ballpark. Saturday night. Now this is a 15. It's 1 hour 49. I'm glad to see these films are a reasonable length at last. But this isn't out until Friday.
Yes.
But you have seen it.
I have, yes. So this is the story of Saturday Night Live, the American iconic TV show that has been running for 50 years. 50 years
James
this year.
Corden, is that the one that James Corden?
No, he did a chat show. This is the Saturday Night Live sort of comedy sketch show.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
They did a version of it over here. It didn't quite work. So this is it's told in real time of the sort of hour and a half, just over, building up to the airing of the very first episode of this, and all the chaos around actually trying to get this program to air, because it wasn't ready, the script
Anything
wasn't
like this
finished.
program?
A little bit like this program, 3 nights a week. So it's full of a lot of chaos. But what's great about this is that it's full of characters that you know. So the characters in it are Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi. There's not the real actors, it's people playing them. Andy Kaufman, Billy Crystal, Jim Henson, and it's just a mad kind of collection. Just imagine that bunch of people, all of whom were unknown at that point.
Yeah.
And just being brought together with this sort of half-baked script and the sort of editing things. Oh, we can't do that; it's too long, and we can't do
skits,
this.
Basically.
Not really knowing if it was going to work or not. In front of a live studio audience, live on TV across the whole of America.
Wow.
And this is the story about how it sort of bumbled its way onto air in the first episode. It's absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I saw it last year. It's one of my favourite films of last year.
So you saw it well before. You can get here.
Yeah.
Saw it well before the rest of us. OK, so let's have a listen or a look to the trailer for Saturday night. It's a 1 hour 49 in cinemas from Friday.
Chevy Chase, Gilda Radner, Dan Iyek, how the do you pronounce this?
Aykroyd. We're just not ready.
Doesn't matter that we're ready, it matters that it's 11:30. That's when we go on.
Look around, Lorne. You haven't locked the script. Your crew is in open rebellion.
Writers on the 17th floor tied a belt around Big Bird's neck and hung him from my dressing room door.
NBC makes more money playing ruins of The Tonight Show.
NBC is lucky to have something as relevant as this show.
One they don't even want.
That's logical, Vic. That's why they're paying us all to be here.
I mean, we're 90 minutes of live television by a group of 20-year-olds who've never made anything. Do you ever stop and wonder why they said yes? A counterculture show starring total unknowns with zero narrative and even less structure.
Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with that.
There's a great game you can play in this film as well, because one actor plays two characters in the film. And I didn't know this, and I started watching it, and I was about half an hour into it thinking, I'm sure that's the same person. And then, of course, when the credits came up, I realised it was. But, yeah, so one actor plays two of the main characters.
Why would you do that?
Because they were casting one of the roles, and then they couldn't find somebody to play the other one. And they realised that this... Genuinely. And they realised that they were actually perfect for that other part as well. So they just decided to
just let him do both parts.
To do both parts.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a great little game to play.
No, I like that. That looks really good. Two good picks there for me, anyway. I don't care about anybody else. I'm going to like them. What about the Oscar noms? That was last Thursday. Now, there was a delay in the nominations coming through, obviously, because of the fires and all the disaster that's been happening there. And I don't think they did the big show either. It's normally quite a big show. It was just emailed out because, again, it would be unseemly, wouldn't it, to be doing a big song and dance act. So talk me through the best... Let's start with Best Picture.
Best Picture, so...
I am listening, I just got to do
so Anora, which is the sort of a grown-up version of Pretty Woman, which won Best Screenplay award in Cannes last year. That was very good.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's very good film.
Right.
The Brutalist, the 3.5-hour epic, which I meant to see today, but I didn't, and I'm going to see it tomorrow, with Adrian Brody, and that I'm really looking forward to. A Complete Unknown, the biopic of Bob Dylan, which again I'm looking forward to. Timothy Chalamet is playing the lead part in that. Conclave, the film about the Vatican. I really want to see that. Which I loved. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Ray Fiennes is nominated for Best Actor for that, quite rightly so, because he's brilliant, as he always is. Dune Part 2, I don't understand, because Dune Part 1 and 2 are boring. Emilia Perez, the film about the transgender mafia boss in Mexico.
I mean, this is quite... It's a big deal for the Academy, isn't it?
It's a massive movie, this, for some reason. It's a musical. I think it'd be a great film if they took all the songs out.
Yeah.
Because I found the songs...
Most musicals would be.
I found the songs really annoying. They got in the way of the story. It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
But... I just find I don't particularly like musicals anyway, and so that just annoyed me.
Yeah.
But you know, Zoe Saldana is nominated for Best Supporting Actress in that. Carla Sofia Gascon is the first ever transgender artist to be nominated in the
Best Actress
Award. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. I'm Still Here, which I haven't seen yet, so I can't comment on that. Nickel Boys, which I have seen, which I thought was really boring. I don't get why that is in there. It was a really dull film. The Substance, which I know you watched and loved recently.
Oh my goodness! Prepare yourself.
Loved that movie. Demi Moore nominated for Best Actress.
I mean, look, it was a great movie up until a certain point, and I was like, my sister said, "What have you made me watch?" Anyway, it was good, but be prepared for a lot of gore.
It's a grim film about the beauty industry, and
how women are invisible when they go.
Fantastic movie, and Wicked, of course, another musical. I can't remember last time there were two musicals in the Best Picture Oscars. I don't think either of them will win it. I actually find it really tough to call that. I think probably The Brutalist will win that.
I think, from what I've heard, I would say The Brutalist for that. Best Actor?
Yeah, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan for Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. I haven't seen that one yet, so I can't comment. Ray Fiennes, Conclave, he's brilliant. Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump in The Apprentice. He's very good in that as well. That's a great film, The Apprentice. I really enjoyed that film. That's a tough one. I can't call. I've got to really sit and think about these because I can't call that yet at the moment.
And we haven't got time to go through all of them. Let's just have a look at Best Actress.
Best Actress, yeah, it's Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, I haven't seen that yet, Isabella Rossellini, who's, oh, so this is a supporting actress, I'm reading the wrong category, I'm an idiot, Cynthia Elvira for Wicked, we mentioned Emilia Perez, Mickey Madison for Honora, she's very, very good in that, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I think Demi Moore is going to win, and I hope so, because Angelina Jolie's not been nominated for Maria, which I thought she would.
I thought she would as well.
I thought she would.
Well, look, we'll call it for Demi Moore. Thank you, John. Back in a sec with Kevin.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and it is very good to have your company, and I'm absolutely thrilled to say with me is Kevin Schofield, political editor, Huffington Post UK.
HuffPost UK.
HuffPost. To the kids. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very
nice
well.
To see you.
Yeah, very nice to see you. Now, listen, I've been talking about the this story that I think it broke at about 9:30 this morning. But it just interests me because the net migration numbers we're talking about now, between 22 and 20, 6.79 million will be born and 6.81 million will die. Which, of course, is not, we're not replacing the people that are dying. And so we need to have migrants come in and do the work. And a lot of people say, well, no, we don't need that. We don't need a big amount of people. But the tragedy for governments is that old people just are not dying off.
They're hanging around
they're
for
hanging
a long
around,
time. Yeah.
blocking houses, taking pensions that they paid into. It's an outrage, since I'll be one of them soon. But you know, it's the demographics that's wrong, isn't it, in this country? That as we've got a growing elderly population who are not paying the same amount of tax as people who work, they're not. We need more people in the NHS and in the caring professions to look after them, and we're not having enough babies. Exactly. So what else is the answer? And it annoys me when people go, well, we just won't have net migrants. We won't have any migrants. It's kind of like, well, I can see that it would be preferable, maybe, if we were to be able to produce our own offspring and train them in the right way for the right jobs. I can see that. But whilst we're not doing that, what else do we do?
Well, absolutely. We need people to come in, as you're saying, with an ageing population who require more care, who require more taxpayers' money being spent on them. So therefore, you need more people paying
earning tax.
Yeah, exactly. And if deaths are now outstripping births on a consistent basis, then you don't have to be a math genius to work out that there isn't going to be enough people working to pay the taxes for the old people who are living longer thanks to the advances in medical science. So you're right, there's a gap there that needs to be filled.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
the
needs to be filled with
demographics.
people
It's
from
literally,
overseas.
yeah, it comes into that. But the thing is, though, that we're not the only country to be going through this.
It's like a Western world
It's
thing.
a Western world thing, yeah. But how do we arrest that? How do we address that? Because women are choosing not to have babies. In the 70s, it was 2.1. Fertile women need to produce 2.1 children per fertile woman in order to keep that balance going. At the moment, that was in the 70s, maybe it was about then, referred to as a boom in babies. But now, women are having 1.49. So, and women are waiting until longer. Or the generation, my boys' generation, don't want kids at all.
Yeah.
So this is a problem that's going to get worse. How do we change that?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down, it's a financial decision, isn't it? If you've, for instance, if you've graduated from university with tens and tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt, you've got no hope of paying that off. You would somehow like to get on the property ladder, but you know that's very difficult. In the meantime, you're having to pay through the nose for rent.
Yeah.
How on earth are you supposed to have the financial wherewithal to have a family? You know, that traditional nuclear family of maybe the 60s, 70s and 80s, where you had parents who are probably married, a couple who owned their own house, they had enough disposable income, could probably go on a summer holiday every year, as well as bring up 2, 3, maybe even 4 kids. Yeah, it was a stretch, but they could just about do it. That is a pipe dream now for the younger generation, like your kids' generation. Because
I mean, honestly, they're all saying, why would I have...
It's way down their list of priorities. It may be a nice thing to do at some stage if we can afford it and somehow get round to it. But, you know, they've got so many other things that they need to clear off their plate, first of all, before they can even think about it. And that's before you get to there's the job security as well. You know, you need to... if you're planning to have kids, you know, there's all sorts of things to consider. Can we afford it? Will my job be secure enough that I know that I'll be able to pay for the baby as well as all the other household bills that you have? And you can understand why people think, well, you know what, let's just leave off having a kid for now and we'll get round to it at some stage, and they may never get round to it. But I know I speak to younger people as well, colleagues and what have you, and yeah, having kids is not...
It's not on the agenda,
It's not on the
it?
agenda. It's not something that they yearn to do. And as I say, even if they maybe did, how can they afford to even think about it?
And then, of course, the government is not doing possibly what it could do with the two-child benefit cap. So I'm just pulling this microphone. I don't know what I'm doing. Hang on a second. Sorry. Very annoying. I've somehow I've trodden on the wire. There you go. It's not that difficult, really. But anyway, I was just slowly sinking into the desk. Where was I? Yeah, but if you look at also the situation with a lot of women are now saying that they can't find men that they want to settle down with. Like I said, young people just deciding that the world is too unpredictable, that the world is unpredictable. They don't like the journey that we're on at the moment to go into it. But we lost the government's deciding that it's better to make the popularist decision about the two-child gap, saying, well, if you have any more than 2 children, you pay for them yourself. Very, very popular decision.
It is popular,
extremely popular.
Well,
and I kind of get that as well. But if we don't start bribing women basically
tax
to have to, and other countries do because they are aware of the birth rate issue. Other countries do start to say, well, look, if you have another child, we'll give you more money, we'll do that. America seems to be going down the track of just denying women their bodily autonomy in order to improve the birth rate. But it is a problem for everybody.
Yeah, you're right, and you're right about the two-child benefit cap. It does poll well with the general population, but the government there is sending out mixed signals. They're sending out that we shouldn't have more than 2 kids. And it's difficult for the public to get their head around, well, what group are you talking to? That group over there can't have 2 kids, but this group over here, we'll let you have more than 2 kids.
Yeah, they're the middle-class people that are reasonably educated.
Yeah, you're allowed. Can have kids. Yeah, and you're right, you know, at a time when we're repeatedly told by the government that economic growth is their #1 priority, if we're not replenishing the stock, to put it maybe slightly uncouth way, of replenishing the stock of human beings, taxpayers, then we're eventually going to, run out of road, really. We're going to run out of money. And, the only possible alternative is to import more foreign labour. But at the same time, you've got all the main parties now saying they want to cut immigration. So
I don't know how both can be true.
We're getting all mixed signals.
I don't know how it can work. But you've also got a situation, I think, in this country that we are particularly bad at making childhood nice. I want to say that in a more clever way, but I don't think I can. We're not very good with children. We deny them in London. If they want to go and play football, they have to pay to some council to go and play football on a pitch somewhere. There's no youth clubs anymore. We leave them to the streets. There's nowhere for them to go and play. Schools under Thatcher sold off acres of playing fields. Schools are not invested enough in. Extracurricular activities for children are not invested in. It seems that we just say, well, have a kid and then just, you get on with it, or we'll interfere in ways you don't want us to, but won't interfere in ways that you need us to. And you look at a kid in the streets of London and you think, why would I do that?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to go back to hark all our yesterdays, but, it seemed a lot more carefree for our generation. You'd go down the park with your mates and you'd be there for hours, and you'd come back when it started to get dark and you knew it was time
you
for
weren't
your
allowed
dinner.
to come back until it started to get
Exactly, and that's just what you did. And I know now with 2 young kids, obviously I grew up in Scotland, it was maybe a little bit easier, but down here you are much more, you're helicopter parent, you're ferrying them everywhere. You never ever let them, until they're maybe 14, 15, go out on their own, really. And maybe that's another reason why some parents are saying, actually, you know what, having kids actually sounds like more trouble than it's worth. It sounds really, really stressful, because there's so many dangers out there
and the knife crime and all of that they seem to be hell-bent on really not fixing. I mean, making it more difficult to buy a knife from Amazon, really?
Yeah, that's not going to...
It's just absolute nonsense, because you can get one from a kitchen. I mean, that was just a distraction, wasn't it? Say, we've done something, yay.
It was to get a cheap headline.
Yeah, a cheap headline.
And it worked because they've passed the blame on to Amazon.
Yeah.
So, it's their problem, it's not ours.
Yeah, one paper's called the Amazon killer.
Yeah. Oh, well, Amazon...
that is the lowest of the low.
The government would have been quite happy to
see
that headline, because it takes the heat off them. But yeah, there is, London is not a peculiar case. It is certainly much more dangerous out there for young kids, I think, than it was in my day, certainly. And again, as I say, that might be another reason why young people might think, you know what, actually, just having a kid, would you want to bring a kid into this type of environment, so let's not bother.
Did you want more than 2? Would you have had more than 2, or...
Now, I don't remember this, but my wife insists that she said that she wanted 4, which, looking back at it now,
Four little Kevins.
What a horrible thought. But we look back on it and laugh now, and we got to 2 and we decided that was plenty.
But was it financial that you decided that was plenty, or was it just because that's a lot of work, or...?
It's a combination of both. I certainly wouldn't say it was a purely financial decision, and if a third had come along, we'd have managed to make it work somehow. But yeah, in terms of just being able to manage the situation, we thought that 2 was enough. I mean, that was enough for me, certainly. My wife, she's got 2 siblings, a brother and a sister, so she's from a bigger family. But no, I think 2 was enough for us. We wouldn't have wanted, certainly now, we certainly wouldn't have wanted more than we've actually got.
See, I think what's interesting about my family, that I'm one of, actually one of 6, but my younger sister died very, very young. So one of 5 growing up, and 3 of us have only had 1 child each. And I think that I think that is significant, because I think that we grew up with a big family and didn't want to replicate that for our own children. So we think 3 of us have had 1 each, and a 4th one has had 2, and the other one's had none. So it kind of evens out as 1 kid each. But which I think is interesting, because you would think that we would go, oh no, I want a big family. But we've all decided that 1 was the perfect.
Was enough, having come from probably
having come from a very noisy household.
I mean, exactly, and it's a fact, isn't it? We've got personal experiences that our previous generation had more.
My village, I think I was brought up in a village called Thorpe Mandeville, just outside Banbury in Oxfordshire, and I think there were 4 families, tiny little village, 4 families of 5 children. And in a tiny village. So I mean, it was great for us, because we just rampaged around the farms and everything. But there were a lot of children in that for a tiny. It's literally 1 strip of houses. Really.
And at a time when probably the father went out to work. Well, they had no choice really. There's so many kids. Somebody had to stay at home and look after them. It was always the mum.
Oh, my mum worked as a veterinary nurse, actually.
That's amazing. To be able to do that and raise
Scottish woman.
5 kids. Well,
tough. You know.
I should have known, really.
Should have known. Should have known.
But yeah, and it's just, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, isn't there? Women now want, rightly, they want careers, they want to go to university, get a good job, and, progress in life professionally before getting round to having kids. That's just the way the world has gone.
But also there's that sense of wanting to not be beholden to somebody, not have to stay in a relationship or a marriage because financially you can't leave. So I think there's a lot of women are demanding, and I think rightly, that the ability to call their own shots. But of course there's a lot of men that think that that's the problem, is that women have, risen above themselves. Well, that actually what they're meant to do is stay at home and look after the kids.
Yeah, we're starting to see
much
more of that. It's a kind of worrying trend, and it resonates with a lot of young men as well. They have this idea that women are somehow taking what's rightfully yours, which is very worrying. But you hear, even like Vladimir Putin in Russia talks about how Russian women, it's their national patriotic duty to have many more children. It's just...
Well, lots of religions say the same thing.
Absolutely.
Catholics, it's your duty to have more Catholics. The faith of Islam, it's your duty to have, to produce more... to produce more Muslims, to produce more acolytes to a religion. And I think that has always been the case, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a Catholic myself, although ironically, I'm an only child. I'm an only child. I'm not lapsed, actually. I'm an only child, yeah.
Little Kevin.
Little Kevin.
On his own.
But my mum and dad are both from large Catholic families, so it was. It's always
they came from a big family and only wanted 1 kid.
Yeah, there you go.
Something in that.
Yeah, or they had me and decided,
took 1 look.
No more.
No, that's enough. No, it's really. I did feel bad actually with only having 1 because of the sibling. Because I'm very close to my sister and sort of all right with the others. But she and I are best friends, and I did think, oh, that's quite nice. But it wasn't always the case. She's quite a bit younger than me, really annoying. But my son and my niece and my nephew, they're actually really. The cousins are really close.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of makes up for it.
I'm sure it does. Well, yeah, I've got a lot of cousins like back home.
Yeah.
I had cousins growing up.
And you're close to them because you didn't have siblings.
Which did help, definitely.
Did they get you a puppy?
No, we didn't have a pet. Unless you count a goldfish, but they're not great company.
Okay.
To be honest, I had a good childhood though. I'm not complaining. I don't want you to get the violin out.
I'm just
don't feel sorry for me. It was
sitting there with your Rubik's cube on your own.
I did have a Rubik's cube.
I knew you would.
80s kid, I did have a Rubik's cube.
I knew you would.
Yeah. I could only get one side though. I never got close to finishing it.
I peeled all the stickers off and stuck them all on.
I know my pals that did that.
And
it never looked the same because we're
never looked the same.
Hanging off.
No, but I was saying to my brother, I could do this. He believed me for years. I had to tell him quite recently. Right, Kevin Schofield and I have got to take a break. Back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, good to have your company. Kevin Schofield is with me in the studio to go through the papers for Wednesday. Kicking off now with the Daily Mail. Do you know, this is a really bad headline, so it took me about 4 times reading it to figure out what it is they were trying to say. Tear down barriers to growth you created. To growth you create, or what, have you created the growth?
Well,
and what they mean is the barriers you've created to growth.
Yes,
right.
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
So that didn't work for me, that headline.
No, well, yeah, you have to read the bit at the top first, but that's in smaller type.
Yeah.
So the first thing, it's almost like they're accusing you.
Yeah.
That you
I
haven't done anything.
I haven't created any growth, apart from my waste.
This is, yeah, it's critics of the government are saying you've got to take down the barriers of growth that the government has created now. So Rachel Reeves is making a big speech tomorrow on growth. It's all about growth, and this is on things that the government are going to do to create growth, because they realise that unless they get serious growth in the economy, they're sunk. They've absolutely had it.
Yeah.
Politically, economically, just everything, you know. And thus far, they've only been in power, what, 6-7 months, but thus far the economy has flatlined on their watch, and they need it to start going up the way very, very quickly. Now, in this speech tomorrow, she's going to be talking about things like a third runway at Heathrow, expansion at Luton.
Ed's not going to like that, is he?
Gatwick. Well, no, he's not, but I think he's just going to have to button it, to be honest. So there's going to be lots and lots of things. One thing that the Cabinet was told today by the Prime Minister and the Chancellor were, everything that you do now, every new policy has to be about growth, has to contribute to economic growth. If it doesn't, don't do it. Anything that's a barrier to growth has to go. But that raises the question, and critics are pointing out, well, what about the huge £25 billion hit on national insurance that employers are going to get? Well, that's not
a barrier.
That's not going to encourage growth, is it? So does that mean that that's going to go? Well, obviously no, because they'd have a massive £25 billion hole in their sums that they would need to fill elsewhere. So yeah, slightly mixed messages there, but as I say, they're betting the farm on economic growth tomorrow, and they need it quickly because people need to start feeling the benefits of it. Or else it's the polls, which are already really bad for Labour, are going to get even worse.
I can't believe they've only been in power for 6 or 7 months.
It feels longer. It does feel longer.
Right, I'll do that top story. There's another paper that covers that, so we'll do that in a sec.
Okay.
Right, so, in fact, here it is. The Sun newspaper for Wednesday. Win, I'm so sorry. Tenors timeout after Strictly tour acts. Love split, I don't know what that is. Star in Go Compare Ad Fears. Now, do you know what he said?
I think I do, and
I'm not going to repeat it.
I wouldn't want to repeat it.
I was just.
So you know as well?
I
right,
know
okay.
as well.
I thought you were,
No, I'm not asking. I wouldn't do that to you. I would do that to other people, but I wouldn't do it to you.
A good Catholic boy like me.
A good Catholic boy with his Rubik's Cube. No, the thing is that before I knew what he'd said, I was still annoyed with him and say, look, you know, come on, guys, you've got to get with the programme. It was never acceptable to make these slurs at women. But now I know what he said. I'm kind of like, what kind of man says that for a start? What kind of man thinks that, says that, and then says it's publicly? It was disgusting, misogynistic, no excuses, nothing to do with his age or whatever.
Not at all, not at all.
What the hell is wrong with him?
Well, it's extraordinary, especially when you consider that, you know, thankfully the world has moved on quite considerably when it comes to the treatment of women in the last 5-10 years.
You'd like
because
to
of the
think,
Me
but
Too
people
movement,
like this and the other grosser fellow were proving you wrong.
Well, you would think that in this day and age, even if they think it, they probably think, oh, I probably shouldn't go there. You know, you've got to watch what you say.
But it's something.
But it's not even an innocent remark that's been misinterpreted.
No,
it's not that at all. It is a really
misogynistic and
disgusting thing to say.
Yeah.
Belittling of a woman. And this is obviously a guy who there was controversy during the last Strictly series over with the hand thing, and that there was apologies and clarifications over that as well. So he's only got himself to blame.
Really?
And you know, unsurprising that he is publicly at least deeply sorry for the pain my inappropriate actions have caused, and plan to take this time for self-reflection. Well, I think he's going to have an awful lot of time for self-reflection.
He's done a Greg Wallace.
Yeah, I don't see him coming back. He had a BBC radio show as well.
Yeah, he's got a BBC. I think he's got Radio Wales. I worked for them once.
Right. Well, I think he's been taken off.
Yeah,
he's been taken off
He's been taken off that. And the BBC, I think, have also got a new show that he's in or fronting, and that's why they tried to sort of protect him a little bit when this first came out. There's no defence for this. There is no defence.
But again, it's another Strictly Come Dancing controversy. You know, they just about got away with the last one. You know,
the bullying of
exactly
the actress.
All of that in the last series was actually a success in the end, I believe. But this again, and it's more bad headlines for the BBC as well. And also, he came to prominence as the big tubby tenor on the Go Compare adverts. And
they must be considering their options right now.
I'd be amazed if he's.
Or is he still in? Yeah, no, he is.
No, it says he's facing the axe in this. So, and also he's split from his partner. So.
Oh, that's what that line.
Absolutely, everything has gone wrong for this fella.
Like you were saying, this was entirely avoidable. He is the master of his
author of his own misfortune. Absolutely, yeah.
And to think that is funny. I mean, they at the top it says storm over lewd sex gag. It wasn't a gag. It wasn't funny. It was deeply insulting and horribly misogynistic and vile. And you just think, what is going through your head, mate? I mean, here he is, probably earning a lot of money from the Go Compare ads.
All the various things, radio, Strictly Come Dancing, making a fortune.
Making a fortune, probably guests on panel shows and things
all
like
sorts,
that.
Personal appearances.
Personal appearances. And it's all gone away because he was arrogant and cocky.
Yeah.
Basically. It's the same with Greg Wallace. Arrogant and cocky.
Yeah.
And thought, I'm above all this.
Oh,
and then you say something...
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. Probably just thinking, well, I'm the
big
man.
I'm it.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Clearly, but those were the actions of someone who did not think there were any consequences to what he was doing. And well, he's got, as I say, he's got plenty of time to
think about
reflect on it now.
Stepping back. Will they? I mean, an advertising campaign like Go Compare are not going to.
No.
I wouldn't imagine they'd want him to be front of their...
Oh, no, because the character he plays as well is meant to be this sort of
jolly
big bloke, and that's just not in keeping now with the reputation that he's managed to earn for himself. So,
idiot.
Yeah, it's...
Absolute idiot, and he gets everything he deserves, frankly, for being that arrogant and cocky. Honestly, it beggars belief.
It does beg belief, really. Yeah. In this day and age, you know, that...
and he did it in front of a bunch of journalists.
That's where the arrogance comes in, isn't it?
That's it.
Even if you think, maybe I shouldn't say it.
Like a 15-year-old boy being cocky in front of his
I will say it. Actually, I better not say it in front of all these journalists because it might become a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that 15-year-old boy showing off.
Totally, yeah.
Isn't it?
You probably thought it was really, really funny.
Guess what I'd do? Yeah. I mean, it's just like, what... anyway. I think we've got to take another break.
Oh, yeah.
I'm exhausted, isn't it? Right, we'll be back in just a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, good to have you along with myself, Petrie, in case you're wondering, and Kevin. I only have to say Petrie. I'm like Madonna.
Like Madonna.
Yeah.
Morrissey.
Yeah, that's it.
Jesus. It's just a one word, one name, and people know exactly who you're talking about.
I don't have to differentiate Petrie or Petrie Hosken, because
there aren't many. It's a pretty unique name, isn't it? There aren't many Petries.
It really is. Although I do know that somebody named a chicken after me, so there is a chicken out there.
But it's named after you, though.
Yeah, Petrie Hosken. The whole name.
Wow, the whole thing.
Chicken. I think it's probably dead by now. But yeah, so there's at least 2 of us, or were. The Guardian paper for Wednesday, Reeves pledges to create Europe's Silicon Valley. Well, you don't want to do that right now, do you?
No, exactly.
Nearly $1 trillion off the...
yeah.
Mind you, that would be typical of her, wouldn't it? Let's create something that lost $1 trillion. All right.
Yeah. I'm presuming that line was written before the
stock market.
Deep Seeker, whatever it's called.
Deep Have you tried it? Rubbish.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, the only way I could check it was to say something about Petrie Hosken, because it's an unusual name.
Did it say anything about the chicken?
It didn't say anything about the chicken.
Rubbish.
Well, there you go. It's rubbish. No, but it was all wrong. I mean, literally, it was it couldn't...
Well, that's why it was so cheap then. Wrong. That's why, yeah.
Is that a reflection on the chicken as well? Chicken. That's why we get the big bucks. Or not. Right, so anyway, that's what she's planning to do. These images of the Gazan refugees are really extraordinary, aren't they? Returning literally to nothing.
To nothing.
But they're happy to be going home.
Well, it's their homeland.
Yeah.
But, it's no longer... obviously the way it was before the war started. There's one man here who, it says his job as a manager of a car rental business is gone, obviously, because the cars, the office and all the equipment have been destroyed. But, as you say, he's lost everything he worked for, but there's the hope there that now the war is, the hope over a fragile 6-week ceasefire could be made permanent, and that's keeping him going back, because if your home is your home, even if you're
bombed out,
living in a tent where your house used to be, that is still your home, and the hope is obviously that the ceasefire becomes permanent. But you certainly don't want to speak too soon on that.
No,
on that front,
you really
because,
don't. And also, of course, you've got Trump talking about clearing out Gaza and rebuilding it.
Well, that's it. We just don't know really what his approach is going to be. The signs aren't positive thus far.
The signs are not positive, especially since he managed to convince the American Muslims that he was going to support Gaza. Anyway, that's their politics, isn't it? I suppose we've got enough issues with our own. The Daily Telegraph. Gosh, this was a long time coming. It's right at the top, actually, before the title. The new Concorde breaks the speed of sound. Concorde, if you think back to the Concorde, right?
Yeah.
It was, in the 80s? 80s and 90s,
Maybe
wasn't it?
in the 70s.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And it was breaking the speed of sound then. And then, of course, there were there were issues with it, so they had to discontinue it. And it's only now that we've managed to crack that again. That's weird, right? Don't you think? It was so ahead of its time.
It's mad how futuristic it was.
It really was.
And it cut the speed of transatlantic flights down to, is it 4 or 5 hours?
It was ridiculous, yeah. My father, who was the air transport correspondent at the BBC at that time, used to fly it quite often. I mean, it was basically, he was going, I need to do it for work. Yeah, right. And it was the BBC, so they probably
It must have been pretty cool to fly Concorde.
Really cool. Although he said it was very small inside, because it had to be.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very small inside and very tiny seats, but he was quite a small man. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think it, obviously it had to go. It was really, really old. And we saw a disaster with it, didn't we?
It was in Paris, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah. But to have taken this long to replicate it, maybe it just wasn't viable. But the tickets were massively expensive.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands.
But you're right, it does show how ahead of its time.
Yeah, it really was.
It was.
So other headlines. Macron vows British will pay more to see the Mona Lisa. Now, he hasn't... This is not true. He said non-EU citizens will have to pay to go into the Louvre, right?
Right.
To see the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Now, I thought we were planning on doing that here for non-British people to go into our museums and art galleries.
Yeah.
Into the National Gallery. We were looking at adding a surcharge to people who weren't British.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, non-EU citizens have been targeted by the embattled French president as he seeks to raise money. Yeah, I mean, that is a misleading headline.
It's a really minxy headline, isn't it?
Well, it looks like he's purely targeting the British, which would be a bit much, you would think.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah,
but he's
non-EU
not.
citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said non-EU citizens, which is, I think, probably fair enough. We're thinking of doing the same with non-British citizens to get into the National Portrait Gallery. Mind you, you often have to pay to see good exhibitions in the National Portrait Gallery anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, what's he doing that's any different to Venice charging people to go into Venice?
Well, exactly, yeah. The shock warnings a few days ago that the Louvre, which welcomes almost 9 million visitors last year, and we went last year, is in a deplorable state of disrepair, so clearly it needs money. So, yeah.
But it's a really trouble-stirring headline.
It is.
For no reason, because the second you read into it, you go, well, he's not vowing that the British will pay more to see. But that's personal, right?
Yeah, of course it is. It's like it's set up to be what's he got against the
why does he hate the Brits?
Yeah.
Which is not the case.
A diplomatic incident, but it's clearly not.
It's
that is
absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
It really annoys me, I have to say.
It's quite clickbaity. I know it's in the newspaper,
it is clickbaity.
But it's quite clickbaity.
Well, it'll be on their online stuff, won't it? And people will click on it. That's why they do it, and to get people angry about absolutely nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It's bad journalism. Stop it.
Yeah.
FBI handed a dossier on Peter Mandelstam's alleged links to China. I thought that Trump had approved the placing of Mandelstam today.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but certainly the story started to come out that that sources were briefing that it's been approved. So this again, I don't know if this is badly timed. Maybe it was too late to make it onto the front of the Telegraph. But yeah, it's a bit of an old story now.
Yeah, maybe that.
Because the inference of the story is that here's another reason why he might get blocked, but he's not going to get blocked.
He's not going to get blocked because he's been approved.
Yeah.
Right, we've just picked the Telegraph apart. Do better, whoever you are. Just do better. That was rubbish. Right. Anyway, interesting story on Concord, though. Right, the Times. Right, it's official. Women desire younger men. Do we need to be told that?
I mean, yeah. Is that a surprise? Is it a surprise?
I've never been out with a bloke older than me, or even my same age. I mean, not that they've been desperately much younger, but
is it because women are more likely to go out with older?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it is quite unusual, isn't it, when you see a younger guy with an older woman?
Well, only because society frowns on that.
Well, yeah. But there's no scientific or biological reasons as to why. I said, but it's a biological thing.
They desire younger men as well. You look at a younger man,
he's
and
much more attractive. Yeah, and also, sort of biologically, they're probably more likely to, procreate or be more,
but maybe
give you better looking babies.
This is another issue: is that the younger men don't want to have a younger woman who's going to want babies and go, oh, you didn't text me last night.
Yeah.
The older woman's more likely to go, oh, didn't you text me? Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
much cooler.
Maybe that's more appealing. I don't know. PM invokes Thatcher in promise to cut red tape.
Yeah, right. He's written for the Times ahead of this, which I find quite funny because the Times quite clearly hates the Labour government. And obviously I understand why in that case maybe makes them even more inclined to reach out to them to try and win them over. But I'm telling you, the Times, they're irreconcilable when it comes to this government. They've already decided to think that they're rubbish.
Yeah,
so they can, I think Keir Starmer can write as many pieces for them as he likes. I don't think it's going to change the editorial line.
It's not going to change.
And talking about Thatcher is absolute red rag to the left of the Labour Party, but I don't think he'll lose any sleep over that. He's done this before, Starmer. He's praised Thatcher as a way of
trying to balance himself away from Corbyn, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also to try and reassure Middle England, former Conservative voters, I'm not this mad. I'm not this mad left-wing lefty who's going to come in and instantly put up taxes in the first budget.
Who was literally...
hang on a minute.
Hang on a minute. Who was literally joined at the hip with Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, quite. So yeah, it'll certainly annoy quite a few Corbynistas, but as I say, they won't lose any sleep over that.
No, they absolutely won't. Right, just quickly, the Express before we go to the next break. The King has said no to Agincourt. Great headline. The King vetoed a new Navy submarine being called HMS Agincourt, because he does get veto over the naming of these boats, to avoid upsetting the French over their historic defeat. Maybe we should call it the Mona Lisa.
yeah. But it's interesting this because the government were getting it in the neck over this. Labour were getting it in the neck today because they were accused that it was, you know, being woke and it was political correctness gone mad because of frightened.
Why shouldn't we call them that?
French. In fact, yesterday. It's crazy questions of our time. At the morning lobby briefing that we have with the Prime Minister's spokesman, one of my colleagues did ask if the Prime Minister was proud of what happened at Agincourt. I mean, come on, it's 2025. But it turns out it was the King.
The King.
Who actually did it.
Yeah, well, it's his name, isn't it?
Yeah.
HMS Agincourt.
It is his submarine.
Yeah.
So I guess he gets the final say on what it's called. And
it's going to be called HMS Achilles.
Achilles, yeah.
Will the Greek be upset by that?
Well, that's the thing. Maybe he's less bothered. Well, his dad was Greek, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe he thinks he can get away with it.
But Achilles' heel, that's not good for a boat.
No, I thought that as well. Is that not a weakness?
It's a weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't like Boaty McBoatface.
yeah. So yeah, I was surprised though. Don't hold your breath for the people who were slagging off Labour for this.
Yes.
Suddenly apologising.
Apologising
and slagging off the King instead. That ain't going to happen.
That's
no
not
chance.
going to happen.
No
but
chance.
the monarch has said no.
Yeah.
And fair enough to you, sir. Lovely pictures of him yesterday.
He's looking really well, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's looking really well. And the picture of him
at the memorial.
It was really
stunning.
I thought he just.
Yeah, he really did.
Really good.
He really did. Right, quick break. Kevin and I will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and good to have your company. With me, Kevin Schofield, a political poll ed at the Huff. What was it?
HuffPost.
HuffPost, UK.
Correct.
Poll ed.
Paul Ed, very.
Kids.
Very funky.
There you go, it's your new title. Daily Star, ooh-ah, the thought for the day, what could possibly go wrong? And that is in reaction to now psycho scumbag chatbots learn to clone themselves. Absolutely, positively, 100% definitely, nothing at all to worry about here, folks. And they did psycho scumbag yesterday
right, okay.
on the papers, but they're doing it again. They're obsessed with this, but dastardly chatbots have learned how to replicate themselves without human help. Well, no sugar Sherlock, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a funny front page, but there's a serious message there. That, you know, there are so many warnings about AI. I've got a friend who told me about a friend of his who has a company, and they had upgraded, they got a new version of AI, and the old version killed the new version. And they,
what?
Yeah, and what was even scarier was they didn't know how. It just did. It didn't.
So they replaced the old one?
Yeah, it replaced the old one, and the old one obviously took offence at this, so destroyed the new one. And they don't know how it did it. So that's quite scary.
That actually really is terrifying.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, that's a survival. It's like a human, an animal survival instinct.
So now they're stuck with it. They can't.
Oh yeah, seemingly.
Or they're going to have AI bots fighting each other to the death.
That's like something from Terminator.
Terrifying.
So don't tell the Star about the front page tomorrow.
Don't tell the Star, I know. Hug a Slug is also on the Daily Star, talking about psycho scumbags. Slugs. Hate them.
Yeah, I was just saying off air, weren't we? My wife, she's the green-fingered one of our marriage, and she despises them.
They eat everything. I've tried everything. First of all, you know, I was trying to grow some herbs, and so I planted my lovely herbs, you know, a bit of rocket as well, and things like that, and noticed that the slugs had, so I thought, right, eggshells, that's what you're told to put in, because I don't like going across the eggshells. So I put lots of broke up eggshells and put them in the soil and everything. Great, that'll do it. Foxes love eggshells. So they dug up the foxes. They went, oh, nice.
Very grateful.
Dug everything. Oh my God. And then I thought, well, somebody said, oh, put Vaseline around the edge of the pot that you've got. No, didn't care about that either. Can't get rid of it. Now I've got no herbs and a useless empty pot. With nothing in it. But yeah, foxes.
And lots of foxes. And lots of foxes looking for their eggshells.
Love the eggshells. You can't win in that wild life out there. The I newspaper for Wednesday. They always go with the most random stories. Electric vehicle charging boost as Reeves drives for UK growth.
Yeah, so this is obviously another line they've been given or managed to get from the Treasury on that Rachel Reeves is going to announce tomorrow as part of the drive for growth, £55 million investment for extra EV curbside charging points, presumably to encourage more people to buy EVs to boost the car industry.
Well, 30,000 isn't going to do it, is it? 30,000 extra. And also the curbside charging posts. I've got loads down my street. There's nobody got an electric car.
Yeah, we've got a couple down our street, yeah.
But it's the cost of them. They're way more expensive to charge from one of these posts than it is if you've got one in your own home. Way more expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. They load it. It's very expensive. So that's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That people, and also electric cars, you can't help thinking that something is going to literally overtake them. That this is not very good technology right now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are sort of holding off on that. Environment, new sewage laws backed by MPs, but more action needed to save Britain's rivers. Isn't it just as simple as saying to these disastrous water companies, no more?
I think if it was that simple, they would have done it. If it had been that simple, the Tories would have done it before, because the Tories got so much for it.
Sewage.
For it. So unfortunately, it's not quite as easy as that. I think that a lot is to do with investment in the infrastructure as well. But then the argument is,
rather than borrowing money to pay shareholders.
Exactly. I think that's where the problem emanates from, and unfortunately, it's going to take such a very long time to rectify it. But again, this will be something that Labour will need to be judged by, because they said they would clean it up, and we'll just have to wait and see if they manage to.
Not a single one of those thieving people have spent any time behind bars either for that. Ridiculous.
Terrible.
Let's have a look at the FT. AI rethink. Silicon Valley bounces back. Actually, it hasn't bounced back. I don't want to pick fault with all of the newspapers for tomorrow, but it hasn't bounced back. It was down. I think OpenAI was down 17%. It's come back 6%.
Right, so
it's not
still
really a
down
bounce.
quite considerably.
It's a dead cat bounce, really.
Yeah.
As much as a dead cat will bounce. But that's a financial term, by the way. I'm not denigrating cats. Anyway, Silicon Valley bounces back. Look, these stocks probably will go back up. The market responded very sharply to this new AI, but it won't come all the way back.
No.
There's a lot of speculation at the moment in the market as that massive sell-off.
Yeah.
Billions.
And it showed that all the assumptions thus far on AI and the development of AI and how much it would require government funding to pay for it or to help invest in it, certainly. At the stroke of a pen, almost, it just went.
Yeah.
Now, despite what you said earlier about having tried it and it not being DeepSeek. That it not being all that great, it just shows, though, that that
this model that they're using is a lot cheaper. But I'm telling you what, the tech stocks may start to climb back out of this, but you've got to look at the energy stocks next. You've got to look at those because now they've discovered they don't need as much energy to run these data farms because they don't need the chips that they thought they were going to need, and they need a lot of energy. It'll be the stocks around the tech stocks that you start to see come off. If you've got any, I know you're a massive investor in the stock market.
Always playing the markets.
Always playing the markets. If you've got any stocks in American sort of nuclear, or I'd sell them.
You can get on it with broker.
Get on to your broker. No, I'm just saying that because they are saying that all this money was going to be ploughed back into nuclear energy,
and all of a sudden
to
it's
fund
not going to be
the
needed.
data farms, and now that people are going, hang on a minute, what does this actually mean? So it'll take a couple of days, I think, while analysts go through it, those geniuses, and figure out actually which are the next stocks surrounding these tech stocks that will begin to fall.
I mean, that's a worry. And the thing is, as well, we've all got a vested interest in the stock market, haven't we, through pension funds, etc. So it's not as if you can say, well, I don't have any shares, so it doesn't affect me. Well, it does. It affects us all.
And America were about to invest $500 billion.
$500 billion
into nuclear power and into chips.
Well, it shows how quickly this all happened, because this was announced by Trump. To great fanfare, with the OpenAI guy was there in the White House, I think it was. And that was only a week ago, and now within a week, the world has changed.
And they were, like I said, they were talking about resurrecting one of their huge nuclear power plants, and that was going to bring jobs and money and everything. And now they're kind of all going, oh, hang on, do we need this power now? What does this actually mean? And this is why it's being described as a Sputnik moment. That it's like it's changed everything.
Totally, and it just shows how fast this technology is developing. I mean, and we've no idea where we'll be in a year's time, let alone 5 or 10 years' time.
I mean, the worry is that we're building AI for the sake of building AI. My guest earlier on was saying, this is a good time to take a pause and say, what do we need AI for? Let's figure that out first. Because we're just building this stuff now. What do we want it to do?
Well, it's almost like a gold rush, isn't it?
It is.
It's
exactly
like, oh, this is it. This is the next big thing. This is going to make us a lot of money, and it's going to create thousands and thousands of jobs. Well,
but what is it actually going to do? And what is it?
What are the consequences? What are the negative consequences?
What do we need it for? What do we want it for? And I would argue another chatbot or whatever it is probably not what we need it for. I've never used one in my life.
No, I'm almost sort of pretending that it doesn't exist.
Too. Well, you write a lot of stuff as well, so you don't want
I don't want to think about the AI being able to write a story, write a better intro than me. Never.
Never.
Impossible.
It wouldn't have your humour and charm. That's the thing. Trump freeze on hundreds of billions in federal grants and loans stirs alarm. A drive to slash public spending, and Democrats saying the impact is inhumane. remain. Well, Trump is doing what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, he's slashing the size of the state. But the thing is, it will be a lot of people who voted for him that will
lose
feel
their jobs.
The impact over it. You know, people relying on government support for, a lot of low-income people relying on government support for all sorts of initiatives. And yeah, well, he was going to come in to shake things up, and he's certainly doing that.
He's certainly done that. Kevin, we're done. The time is up. I know, I can't believe it goes so quickly, doesn't it? Thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
Get on to my producer and make sure you're in every day. Thank you very much indeed, Kevin Schofield there. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about this population increase, and really net migration is what we're talking about. It's been talked about all through the day, but I'm sort of more curious about it rather than just shouting that headline, oh, more migrants are going to come in and we haven't got room, is to have a slightly more nuanced conversation than that and just look at what's the alternative, because we're having to get these people of a certain age to come in to the country because we've got an ageing population. We've also got a population that isn't replicating itself and not having babies. So why is it that we are not having the children that we need to replace the people who are dying for the first time ever? Those figures have flipped the wrong way round. So why is it that we're in that position? And have you decided not to have babies? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And this is your hour. This is your opportunity to talk back. It's the only hour that is cleared. The decks are cleared so that you get a chance to have your say and have your voice heard. I want to talk to you about this. I know that we've been, as a station, been talking about this through the day, about the net migration that could push the UK population to 72.5 million people. Now, this could fuel a rise in population by 2032 of, on average, about 340,000 people per year, give or take. Now, I'm talking about the legal migration, those migrants that we ask to come here to do a job, right? And you may be saying, oh, that's too high, you know, we don't need any more people, the country's full, etc., etc. Now, the country isn't full to start with, but even if it were, the demographic of the people that we have in this country, or would have without migration, are not the right demographic. It's as simple as that. That's the maths, is that you have a situation where we know we've got a growing, ageing population. Those people, by dint of where they are in their life, are not working. Most of them are retired, and if they are paying tax, they're paying tax on their pensions, and there's no national, and people over the age of pension age don't pay national insurance and things like that. Okay, so there's a gap. There's a gap in people who are paying into the system. Although I do appreciate, pensioners, that you are paying tax, but not national insurance, and that is a big take, as we know, from Rachel Reid's budget. So we need people who are working and paying tax and paying national insurance. So that's the problem that we have. Now, that's exacerbated by the fact that fewer people are born than die, right? So between 2022 and 2032, 6.79 million people will be born, and 6.81 million people will die. So we're not replacing, right? We're not replacing like for like. And in fact, every fertile woman needs to have, I'm not ordering you to, but I'm just saying needs to have 2.1 children for every one fertile woman in order to replenish the stock. So the issue is that the women in this country, or the families in this country, and women, funnily enough, can't do it on their own, not yet anyway, that they're not having enough babies. Enough babies are not being born. And I want to know why. Why? Why is it you've decided that you won't have children? That you prefer to be child-free than have children? Why is it that quite a lot of families, I come from a quite a large family, but I only have one child, best child in the world, I only have one child. My sister only has one child. My big brother only has one child. And my little brother has 2 children, and my other brother has no children. So we haven't replenished the stock. And there's probably good reason for that. First of all, the expense. Second of all, I'm not entirely satisfied with the direction of travel of this entire globe. And we have a bigger problem, is that younger people, I mean, I was talking to one of my producers earlier this week. He'd had a conversation with his own daughter, who's quite young, saying, I don't think I want to have kids. And those parents were going, probably a good idea. Probably a good idea not to have kids. My son and his age group, 27, they're really not planning on having children, not just because they can't afford a house, or their work's unstable, or they don't have the financial resources to do it, but because they too are looking at the world and going, why would I bring somebody into this? And I think a lot more people are thinking really hard before they have children. So we are in a pickle. And we're not the only Western country to be going through this. So how do we fix it? Because at the moment, there is no alternative. If we can't persuade people to have more children, and give them a blooming good reason to do so, then migration it is the only solution. And even if that population grows and grows and grows, because the older population is growing and growing and growing, and the younger population are not being born, so we need to bring more and more people in to fill the country, how else do we do it? It's simple maths. It just, at the moment, doesn't work. So the answer is to encourage more births, isn't it? Simple as that. Some countries actually pay if you have more children. They'll say, oh, you know, we'll give you a grant, or we'll give you extra money. In this country, there's a two-child benefit cap. And it's a very popular cap. A lot of people think, well, if you can't afford more children, don't have them. But if they don't, then we've got to bring migrants in. I don't know what the answer is. And nobody sees that, trust me, nobody sees that as a good, solid answer. Although we might find that we fill up with Americans over the next few years as they desert the United States. But it's a real problem. And everybody would prefer it if your own people could, you know, bring forth more children and be brought up in a certain way and all of those things. But if we're not doing that, what do we do? What is the answer? And what is the problem? Give me a call. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. Don't worry about that. And you can text the word talk and your message to 87222. Lillian, I love that name, in Gateshead, has sent this message. She said, my daughter is 27 and she has changed her mind about having children. She does not think this country is safe to bring children up in anymore. And I don't blame her. The amount of you know, youth crime, violence, stabbing on the streets, it's enough to put anyone off, right? So how do we need to fix this. This is the biggest threat to this country, and it's not urgent enough. Nobody's talking about fixing it. They're just complaining that we need to get migrants in to fill those gaps. So how do we fix the problem? 0344 499 1000. Andrew is in Argyll in Scotland. Good morning to you, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, Petrie. Nice to talk to you.
Very nice to talk to you. What is going on here? We've got ourselves into a right mess. We're not the only Western civilization to do so.
I find it extremely disconcerting the way that the state and the people that have power over us, it feels like they actually hate the indigenous British population. This government is, I find it extremely depressing, actually.
Do you think they're deliberately engineering that we don't have enough children?
Well, I think so, actually. Yeah, I mean, my wife and I mean, I'm now 67 and retired and everything. My wife had 2 miscarriages way back in the 80s. And well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, Petrie, that's life. That happens. You know, we want the sort of people who go, oh my God, we're so upset and all this. That is human life. You know, you've just got to get on with it. But what I do think at the moment, and I have nieces and nephews who are in their 20s and 30s, and they have no hope. Do you know what I mean? They've got good jobs. Sorry?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that is a problem.
Yeah, you know, I think my mother used to say, I don't know who said this, but there's a famous quote, where there is no hope, the people perish. And a lot of young people have no hope of ever being able to afford to buy their own home. They're going to have to pay a massive percentage of their take-home pay for rent. And then I've just heard today that the council tax some councils are now allowed to increase the council tax by 25%.
That's Angela Rayner. Thank you, Angela.
Yeah, exactly.
She's approved that.
I've worked for private companies all my life, and I've worked for a couple big construction companies, and when they went bust, everybody lost. I mean, we didn't get paid, we didn't get a salary. That was it. But these people, why on earth are local authorities allowed to speculate on the share market?
It's disgusting, Andrew. And because they're not allowed legally, they're not allowed to go bust. Right?
Yeah.
They're not allowed to go bankrupt. Even if they are bankrupt, you look at Birmingham, for example, the people of Birmingham, they are absolutely being stuffed by their councils. The increase there is hundreds and hundreds of pounds a year.
Yep, and for what?
And what do you get? You don't get improved services. They're talking in Bristol about picking up the black bag once a month.
I know, yeah, it's outrageous. And I mean, I've got friends in Poland, and I am seriously looking at moving to Poland.
Really? A lot of people I know are doing that.
Yeah, and you know, I was staying there with some friends, and I sometimes rent an apartment in Lower Silesia. Their bins are emptied every day.
Wow.
There's no fly tipping because they pick up everything. You know, and they know what they get when they pay their monthly rates. Do you know what I mean? But here, nobody's accountable. Who are these people on massive hundreds of £1,000 salaries who start betting? It's absolutely gambling with...
and that's exactly what they did. I mean, Birmingham is in trouble because it wasn't paying equal wages to women and men.
Yeah.
And then it's going, we've got to pay $1 billion to... Well, you should have been paying equal... It's against the law not to, right?
Yeah, but I think that the worst thing is, Petrie, these people are still in their jobs.
I agree. There's you're right.
Massive salaries.
Yeah.
And nobody can get rid of them. It really is getting outrageous. And I'm afraid it just gets worse and worse. And nobody has the guts to stand up and say, enough is enough.
Yeah. Well, because they keep us too busy being poor and stressed out about things as well. We're too busy, and we're fighting each other, which I always say. If we're busy scrapping amongst ourselves, blaming, migrants and disabled people and unemployed people, then we're not looking at what they're doing. But
that's a very good point, Petrie. Yeah. That's a very good point.
It's a commonly used distraction technique.
They try and deflect our anger from the real causes of this problem. You know, we thought things, well, some people thought when we left the EU, we'll get better. We won't have these stupid rules about silly... I mean,
and we've lost billions.
Every time you buy a bottle of water now or a bottle of orange juice or something, you've got these stupid little things, so you can't get the plastic off, you know. And that was all supposed to go.
Yeah, no, we were sold a duck with that. But with your nieces and nephews, I mean, the last thing on their mind then, right, is having kids.
Well, that's absolutely true because they do not have kids. They're happily married or with partners, but they wouldn't dream of having kids because, quite frankly, they couldn't afford it. My eldest niece is a teacher, and she said, if I had children, I wouldn't send them to my school.
Oh, gosh.
You know, it's, I don't know, it's just...
it's terrible, and this is the problem. It's not just that we're, people don't want to have children because they can't afford them, but also look at what we're offering.
Yeah,
it's really poor. A very poor standard of education. Nothing against the teachers, but a very poor standard of education. An NHS that doesn't work. Very poor social care, very poor diets. Nowhere for them to play. Knife crime is endemic everywhere. I mean, what?
Yeah, and the thing is, Petrie, we're paying more and more council tax, more and more income tax.
And getting less and less for it.
What are we getting?
Nothing.
You know, it's quite frankly, it's depressing, really.
I tell you what, Andrew, not a day goes past when I don't say, thank God I'm the age I am.
Yeah, same here. Absolutely the same. Thank God I might be dead in 10 years.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah, I know.
Or if the government's lucky. Could you make it a bit sooner so you don't have any pension?
Yeah, I'll go and die in Poland. You know, at least I won't be paying so much tax.
Well, at least you can still listen to me when you're in Poland. That's
absolutely.
That's the good news.
Love your show, Petrie.
Thank you, Andrew. It's lovely to talk to you. Please call again. What a great sense of humour. I love that. You totally got my sense of humour. Right, I've got to take a break, but I will be back in a second. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side.
Good morning. This is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And we're talking about the report that came out today. It's saying that net migration could fuel a rise in the UK population to 72.5 million. That's up almost 10 million. And everybody's rightly and concerned about this, because we're talking about infrastructure and building on green belt and all of these things in order to house all of these people. And we are addicted, I think, to foreign labour. And a lot of people are saying, well, we don't need them. We can just get our own people to work. Well, the problem is, like I've said before, is the demographics are wrong, because we don't have the right age group available to work in this country. We're having fewer babies, quite a lot fewer, and we've got more older people, pesky older people who refuse to die. It's rude, isn't it? Rude. But I'm nearly there myself, so I'm taking the mick out of myself. So we have a problem. We have a problem at both ends of the scale. Not enough babies and too many old people. And the bit in the middle, there's nobody coming through, the young, to take over those jobs, and the old are exiting those jobs. So you have a situation where you've got jobs and not enough people. It's as simple as that. That's it. Nobody coming through to take the jobs and people exiting the jobs and annoyingly staying alive. Right, so there's a cost implication and there's a care implication, and even if pensioners are paying tax, and I know many of you do, you're not paying national insurance. So and there's other things you're not paying, right? You're probably not travelling as much every day, twice a day by public transport. That's a cost factor. You're probably not, shopping in the shops as much, and just ad hoc purchases. That's a cost factor. And so all of those things matter. So you have in the middle of this unedifying sandwich a need to replace the children that are not being born here with people who were born in other countries, whatever that country might be. So what do we need to do? We need to encourage more British births, right? But we're not doing that. In fact, it's going to get worse. As younger generations go, kids, no, not doing that, can't afford them. Can't afford to do anything but pay half my salary in rent. How am I going to afford anything else? So this is serious. So it's going to be a huge issue. It's going to get bigger and bigger as we go forward. And the only solution is immigration at the moment. Because governments are not thinking about what other solutions there might be, because it's more expensive. It's cheaper to get somebody from overseas who's been trained and educated overseas, because we haven't had to pay for their education, and bring them in. So they're looking at the economics of this. It's cheaper. It's always been cheaper. That's why we cut the numbers that we allowed to take a medical degree in this country, because it was too expensive, and we could get cheaper doctors from places like India, because we didn't pay the 200 grand in educating them. That's why. So governments have become addicted to this cheaper labour, and even if they get the same salaries as a doctor, which you would hope they would, that was educated in this country, even if they get exactly the same salary, they are immediately £200,000 cheaper because we didn't educate them. And that's why governments have done it. They've got a voice note in from Dave in Portsmouth. Let's have a listen to what Dave has to say.
I think the younger people of this country now simply can't afford it. The way the country's going, who would really want to bring a child into this into the UK right now? Yeah, I feel sorry for people. It is the expense. I hate to say it again. The country's in an awful state, Petrie.
Dave, I think that is it. It's not just the country's in an awful state. The world is in an awful state. We're being run by technocrats and oligarchs and people who don't give a stuff about you and me. They do not care. They just want more money. I don't know what they think they're going to do with it. They can't take it with them, but they're just hell-bent on just ripping us off and taking as much money as they can, and that includes governments and councils. They just want your money. They don't care about you. It's not a world that many people want to bring a child, even if you could afford it, right? Let's go to Sheldon, who's in Swansea. Borada.
Borada, Petrie. How are you, my lovely girl?
I'm very well. I haven't spoken to you for ages.
No, we've had some problems here, but we're okay now. Don't worry about it.
Oh, good. You're all right now.
We won't go into that. It's too boring for your listeners.
Never.
Regarding this problem with the demographics of not having enough young people born here, forget the economic elements a moment, which I fully understand. You were completely correct in your analysis, as usual. I have another analysis. You see, when I was a very young child, my parents didn't have a pot, as they say, to pee in. And most people didn't either. However, they had larger families than they have today, and they got by, and the children grew up, and 90% of them were reasonably decent people because they cared about them. And they took their time to care about them because they were not selfish. We have a particularly selfish nation in Great Britain who has a problem with pesky young children and pesky old people who take a lot of time looking after. Now, you can choose two things when you have little ones in particular. You can either choose to be their parents, the mother in particular, the father, if he's working in particular as well, or you can choose to become somebody who wishes to enjoy themselves outside of that responsibility. And I don't believe that people of a certain age in this country want the responsibility of children.
Yeah.
It's not just financially. I don't think they want it emotionally or physically. It's far too much for them. They don't want it until they've made enough money to have them, which is not the case.
But when you were a kid, you know, it was entirely possible for your parents to either buy a house, or there were council houses, right, that people got to live their entire lives in.
No, neither of those things are true. When I was young, my mother and father lived in rooms, and then they lived in a very, very badly run-down, one-up, one-down property. And I was 8 years old before I had a council house and moved into a place with hot running water. But I was extremely well looked after because they made sure I was.
But what I'm saying, Sheldon, is that there was at least that possibility. In some councils, there's an 18-year waiting list for
I
council
appreciate
property.
it. I do appreciate, because I'm in that position myself, Petrie, as you know, right?
Yeah.
I've had big houses, lost big houses. The economics of this country have been such that I've been up and down all over the place, and I'm very fortunate to be a housing association tenant now, which took a long time to achieve. So I do appreciate that, and it's very hard work to get it.
And also, you've got, you know, kids like my boy and his girlfriend.
Yes.
They pay. I mean, to say thousands is not exaggerating, and
no,
they're paying each paying half their wages for rent.
Crazy. I know. Yeah, I know.
It's disgusting. It breaks my heart.
And it breaks everybody's heart for them. And I am not. That is not the point that I wish to make lightly, because I do actually suffer for them as well in my heart. I suffer for them as well. But I genuinely believe that the majority of people of the age where they should be procreating, should we say, and having young children, are not prepared to suffer the indignity
I think you're right. I agree with that.
Up.
I agree. There's a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of, and I mean selfish, and I don't mean people saying, right, I want to get my career in place before I have kids. It's not that. It's something else, isn't it? Why should I? Why should I give up my time? I'm more important. I'm the most important person.
I can't go I can't have a job, go to theatre, and make my friends down in Witherspoons, etc., or whatever it is, or in a posh London restaurant, and look after my children at the same time.
It is a massive sacrifice, right? We know that.
It's a huge
sacrifice. But that means you've got to really want them before you have them. And people don't.
My experience is, if you go to Southern Europe, most of Southern Europe, Italy in particular, Greece, etc., Spain, other countries where all these people pop off onto holidays, they will discover that children are highly valued.
Yeah.
The family is the most important thing of all.
Yeah, and they're all out late at night in the town squares.
All the time. Yep. You see it happening in front of your face. They're highly valued.
But they've also got declining birth rates. So there's something going on that actually is the real nub of the problem here. And if it isn't solved, the only answer is migration or die. Or the country just...
Well, we have a problem with that. However, when you think back, I can go back to 1962 when the population in this country was 52,000. 52,000 is a drop in the ocean to what's expected to be at
52,000, are you sure?
Yep, it was 52,000 in 1962.
No, it couldn't have been. In 1962.
Yeah,
Check.
It was.
Well, I don't like to doubt you, Sheldon, but that sounds extremely low.
It was quite large. Then we had a lull, and what happened was, in between that lull, it got up to something with about 6,000 extra. Then suddenly we had an explosion.
It was 53 million, is that what you meant?
A million, I mean, not
million. Yeah. That's all right. No.
Million.
Yeah. So I mean, and we're now looking at an increase to 72.5. So that's an extra 20 million.
No wonder our infrastructure is in such a mess.
But again, our infrastructure is in such a mess because all of the governments have failed spectacularly to actually repair and replace anything.
Singularly, every one of them.
Every single one of them. They haven't rebuilt houses. I mean, the prefabs that were slapped up after the Second World War were meant to be long gone. They're still around.
They're still hanging around. Yeah, I know. And the amazing thing was, which amazes me more than... this is not an apolitical point, it's a political point. There is nothing wrong with allowing people to purchase their council homes.
No, well, Angela Rayner's going to put a stop to that now, isn't she?
But the problem was to not have a plan to replace them for people who couldn't afford to buy them was the disaster of all time.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the councils were allowed to keep all of the money, which was the problem.
They weren't allowed it, no.
So, it just seems that there's no plan for this apart from to bring in people who've been educated in other parts of the world, saving us money. It's short-termism, always. Sheldon, lovely to talk to you. I've got to go because I'm really late to the break. But thank you for calling. It's lovely to talk to you. I'm glad you're good. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Why are you not having children? Back in a sec and talk to David.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, a very good morning to you. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And we're talking about the increasing population in this country, and the UK population is set to rise, or could rise to 72.5 million by 2032, which, as we know, is not that far away, 7 years. No. So that's an extra 9.9 million people, or 9.9 million people will immigrate here, and 4.98 will emigrate. So we're looking at about 340,000 a year, and that is up from previous projections of 315,000 per year. And I know that a lot of people are sort of saying, "Oh, we're full. We can't take any more." And this is why we're seeing building a green belt. We're going to have to build all these houses just to house these blooming wretched immigrants that come over here and do the jobs that, frankly, we're not there to do. And the reason we're not there to do them is because there's a declining birth rate. It is reaching critical level. It's now 0. It's now 0. I mean, there is no +1, +149 or +2. Which is what is required, 2.1 actually, children per fertile woman, in order to replenish the stock. It's 0. So, and we've had for the first time more people, fewer people being born. And it's just not, it just doesn't work. The maths doesn't work. And pensioners don't pay national insurance now. Of course they did, but when you're retired, you may pay tax, and you may have paid in all your life, but that money's already gone, mate, right? That money that you paid in wasn't saved for you. It was spent on the pensioners ahead of you. So you were working and paying for those pensioners, right? And now I'm working to pay for you, right? And then my son and his lot will work to pay for me. Right? So the money that you paid into the system is all gone. And if there isn't a generation behind me to pay for me to have my pension that I'm paying in, but that money's already been spent on you, then what happens? I don't get a pension that I've already paid into. So I don't get a. So we need people behind us to pay so that we can retire, because you've paid for the other people to retire, right? Basic economics. You don't get your money back, right? That's already been spent. It's gone. So we need to replenish the stock. In basic terms, we need to replenish human beings, and we're not. Why? And what can be done to ensure that the birth rate is what we need, which is 2.1 child per fertile, age-appropriate woman? Then we're not doing it. In fact, a lot of women are saying, I don't want kids anyway. I don't want them. Never did want them. I'm child-free as opposed to child-less. Bruce has said, to me, it's obvious why people aren't having babies. Housing. A couple can't afford a house. How can they settle down and start a family? Affordable houses equals families, just a thought. And I do think it is, in some cases, as basic as that. But there is something else going on. It's not just about affordability. There is something else going on. People just don't want children. And they are a pain, right? Especially when they get to teenage years. They are difficult. You have to sacrifice for them. You have to give things up, like time, space, energy, money. And you still do that when they're 27, by the way. So it's a commitment forever. They're not just for Christmas. And a lot of people don't want to make that commitment. And I can't say I blame them. It's hard work. I mean, I wouldn't be without my boy, but you know what I mean? It's hard. So what else is it if it isn't just affordability? I think that is a major part of it, but what else do you think it is? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. And if you've chosen not to have children, male or female out there, can you give me a call? I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were, as to why you've decided not to have children. Right, let's take a call. David is in Belfast. Thank you for waiting, David.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Oh. Hello? David, don't do this to me.
Wasn't great.
Oh, we've got you back. What happened there? You disappeared.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I love your accent. I love a Belfast accent. Can't beat it in my view. Right, so David, tell me, why aren't people having children?
60s, 70s and 80s, contraception wasn't a big thing, right? You had to go to the barbers and ask for a haircut and get a wee
something for the weekend.
Yeah, something for the weekend, right? And now, see, families here in Northern Ireland, which is British, and Ireland had 13, 14 kids because there was no contraception. Now, all these guys in the 2000s can go, they've done something the night before, they can go and get a tablet the next day. Where us stupid lads had to own up and say, yeah, my girlfriend's having a baby, and within 3 months you're married,
And miserable, presumably.
Not miserable. I had 3 kids myself. One, I just had to get married quickly. Or what did they call it back in the day? A shotgun wedding?
Shotgun wedding. That was usually the father-in-law that had the shotgun, yeah.
Yeah. So there was lots and lots of shotgun weddings in the 50s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But that's not happening now because they're all on these stupid gaming machines, looking at people, swiping left, swiping right. They can't even find the right woman. They need to get out and look for the right woman.
Yeah, I think, again, I can't argue with much of what you said, except that what we don't want is unwanted pregnancies. I mean, it's Belfast. I mean, there's a Catholic issue there. You've got the Catholics and the Protestants. But, the Catholics don't use contraception anyway, do they?
But when you man up, you have to commit, So men aren't manning up, and if you haven't manned up, who wants you anyway?
So I mean, funnily enough, the population of Ireland isn't quite as desperate, or Northern Ireland. Well, I suppose we're counting Northern Ireland, but the Irish. I'm going to count you all as Irish. I know that won't be politically popular, but is not quite as bad as the mainland, as you would put it.
Yeah, well, sure, we're going to get 5 million Chinese come because haven't we granted them anyone in Hong Kong and come live here for 5 years and have citizenship? So
I hope I hope they take it up as well, because it's absolutely hideous in Hong Kong at the moment, and we owe them because we promised them it wouldn't happen.
Because there are a lot of wealthy people there that could come in. I would love them to come to Northern Ireland, and I would hope 5 million would come here, and then all these parties in Northern Ireland would be smaller parties, and we'd have the Chinese, the Hong Kong party here.
I think we'll get a lot of Americans as well, from what I've been reading. A lot of Americans are looking at leaving, and Canada's their first choice, and then the UK. So,
yeah.
And they love the Irish.
I see it here. I'm a painter and decorator, and I'm seeing, do you know when everybody started to work from home? Everybody's come back. You buy a 4-bedroom house, 1,700 square feet in Northern Ireland for about 270,000.
Wow.
With a big back garden, and a huge house.
Yeah.
So people that were working in, kids that were working in London in the markets that now can work from home are all coming back. They're buying all these houses up. You buy a 3-bedroom, what I would call 2 up, 2 down for about 70 grand.
Wow, that is so cheap.
It is so cheap. And you know, we are the best of Britain in Northern Ireland. Our kids walk to schools. They love walking to school. You know, they go on buses by themselves. Nobody hassles them, you know.
But I mean, you've been through your troubles, you know.
Well, I think the troubles actually help.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Kept them all away. You know,
because I suppose because everybody's now grateful for the peace and now grateful for the, you know, the lack of British soldiers on the streets and.
Except we've got a border in the middle of the Irish Sea now, so we don't know whether we're British or European. But
can we please have you as British?
I'm British, yeah, but I can also have an Irish passport, so I can be British. And I can be Irish at the same time. So I have two passports. I have a British passport. I was born in the UK, but because I was born in the island of Ireland, I can have an Irish passport.
Yeah, that is so jammy.
Aye.
Isn't it?
Well, you know, we haven't had the best luck over the last 40 years, but something's given. You know?
Yeah, no, listen, after what you've historically been through, I don't begrudge you at all. Beautiful people, amazing country, yeah, both sides of that divide. Absolutely, I love the Irish, I absolutely do. And I used to visit Northern Ireland to do some reporting back in the day when it wasn't so nice and it wasn't so easy. So I'm happy for you, genuinely. David, lovely to talk to you. I've got to go because I'm horribly late to a break and I'll get into trouble. David there in Belfast, he said people go, I mean, it sounds great. Why don't we all move over there? Good idea, isn't it?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning to you. This is Talk and it's Petrie here until 1 o'clock, which gives us about 8 minutes, not long. Right, I'm going to read some messages and then I'm going to go to Michelle. So Michelle, please bear with me. I just want to get these messages done. Angie has said, it's the simple fact the next generation cannot afford to have children. My eldest is in his 30s and says, don't be surprised if my future grandchild has 4 legs, fluffy ears and a tail. And you know what? I wouldn't blame him and my daughter-in-law. I'm exactly the same. And actually, I think I probably prefer them to have a four-legged creature. It's less expensive, for me anyway. So that's from Angie. Thank you, Angie. Oh, I just want to say to Mark Brooks, Mark in Basingstoke, I completely agree with you on that comment. It's about DeepSeek. This one said, Carol, I moved to West Wales a few years back from London with my wee dog. Incidentally, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, little dog. And I nearly lost him twice during the past year, but he's well and better now. Anyway, I have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. My daughter has her own little girl, but doesn't want any more because she'd rather be able to spoil my granddaughter and have a good career. I have 3 sons. The youngest and oldest, 24 and 33, have decided the world is not in a good enough place to even consider having kids. My middle son has a brilliant career, managed to buy himself a 1-bed flat with his partner when they were just 21, but even they aren't in a position to have kids because they want a bigger place in the area of London, which isn't financially possible. So now they've decided to hold off and may adopt later in life. Our young people are facing an impossible future, and that's from Carol. It's so true. It is absolutely true. Let's talk to Michelle now. Michelle, who's here in London. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, gorgeous.
How are you?
I'm nervous of you because you've got red lipstick on. And no, I love it, but like you are on a mission and I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes you wear pink and it's like, oh, she's a bit of a pushover tonight. Now you've got red, I'm scared.
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm feeling feisty. I put the red on.
You're okay because I'm gonna put my Christian Dior on. Is yours Indian red?
Do you know it was a cheapo I got? What's it called?
You're joking.
No,
it's not even bleeding.
No, I know. Well, I've got this special stuff you put over the top that holds it in place.
Oh, you're a right hot mama.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart.
Right, sorry, because I have to flirt with you because I think you're such a babe and I think it's such an honour. But
Thank you.
No, seriously, you've got to take that red off because you look really hot. And I'm not even gay. But you've got lovely lips. Do you do Botox?
No, God, no. I haven't done anything to this face. Nothing.
Really?
No.
Hey, your son's got lovely lips.
Yeah, my boy has. He's got mine, but he doesn't wear lipstick. But unfortunately, because he'd look great, but he doesn't. Listen, what about children?
You're making me blush. Today has been a horrific day. We've had this, that, the other, this, and I really like you because you listen to people and you have got. Do you know what? You're so genuine. But with this and that and that and this, right, the government and the government before, what the hell is going on? I feel like, if you don't accept Islamic, you're on, the end of the road. We are British. I'm proud of my flag. I am proud. My dad fought in the war. But I gave up having children. I had 2 miscarriages.
I'm sorry.
And I had 2 IVFs. And, I just took it. It weren't meant to be. But when you talk about famine and this and that and that and this, even when we breathe, we're breathing out carbon monoxide. I just think, what is going on? I don't even drink tap water because I really think there's something going on. What is wrong with society today?
I don't know, and it is interesting that a lot of people fertility is dropping. There is an issue with male fertility as well. It's not just female fertility, and there are issues that are just not being looked into. But this is not just this country, Michelle. Do you consider yourself childless or child-free?
No.
Do you take a positive look at it?
You're a mother, and I'm talking positive.
Yeah.
I tried. I nearly died twice. And it was my ovaries went this and that and that and this and blood pressure. Do you know, in life, I feel because I haven't had a child, and I'm talking to you because you're a female, I feel like I've been robbed in life.
Do you?
Because I've tried to do the right thing. I do not have any carbon footprints. I haven't been away for 28 years.
Wow.
No, I don't feel sorry for me, because I have my life when, you know, like we're old school. You get up, you go to work. My dad said to me, right, I'm 12 and I've done a weekend job. But then my dad, when Notley finished school, I thought 9 o'clock, yeah. And then Hoover went on. You know, the old Hoovers with the big bag. Anyway, you've got to get up and get a job. And, you know, jobs are so available. You had to go into, like, diamond cutting. You went into, like, gold. You went into print. Everything was available. What is going on? And I'm getting so tired of people going, well, next time we'll learn this. Well, this will happen, and this will happen, and this.
And it never does. Yeah.
But when something happens, prevention is the best thing. And all these child molesting and murderers, and I will say it because I know that you respect me, because I don't mean anything harm.